too small, I got big dreams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to PunFun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Ryan, and we're gonna check out, well actually, we have an incredible artist with us today. We promised and we certainly delivered. He's worked on Zombie Tramp, he's worked on actually almost any Kickstarter that has actually been, well, successful. And I would say his covers usually gives it quite the kick. His following is massive. He has been the viral artist for all our covers in the independent world. He is known as Mr. Bill McKay. Hi, Mr. Bill McKay. How are you today?
How are you doing, Ryan? Thanks for having me.
Sorry?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, thank you for giving us this opportunity and giving the fans here at PunFun an opportunity to see your art, get to know you better, and that's kind of what we want to do, is make a little platform for independent artists that kind of need a light, seeing that the algorithm doesn't always work in their favor. And in this way, we hope to really, have deserving artists come on and shine as much as, well, you do. I mean, you've put in the hard work. I've seen you show after shows. There's always a lineup. You always have so much commissions, just lined up for you. In a nutshell, for your age, how old are you without actually giving me a number? Like, if you were to reference something throughout history that would say, hey, that's when Bill McKay popped out.
My dad bought me tickets to see Heavy Metal, the movie, at the theaters when I was 12.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. You guys do the math. Okay, wow. At 12. That's great. That's quite the experience.
Bought us the tickets and went home.
Great. And can you give us a little bit of your background?
Background.
Well, I mean, like, I guess culturally, or like how you grew up, kind of your, a bit of influences, but like personally, we'll get into the artist stuff a little later. Now we're getting to know, deep in the skin of Bill McKay.
Okay, I guess I'm a white European mutt who grew up in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. and Maryland. Just always loved drawing comics, and it's all I ever wanted to do, and it just kind of led me down this path.
Great. And so how many years would you say you've been drawing? Or how old were you when you first started drawing?
As long as I can remember. I can't remember. Yeah. My parents were artistic, and they were very, what's the word?
Like they encouraged you as well to express yourself?
So they always give me supplies, and yeah. Okay.
Yeah, then that's, yeah, of course. Do you remember a piece that you drew, like your earliest piece? Not necessarily a Zombie Tramp. I mean, like in terms of when you were younger, was it Ninja Turtles? Was it something that you have in mind that you, I mean, it could also be the turkey with, the 5 fingers here.
Yeah, just superheroes, I'm sure, superheroes, Fantastic Four, X-Men. Okay. When Byrne was on X-Men, that was a massive influence. The Avengers, Perez Avengers, when he was on that book in the late 70s.
Wow. So when did you know that this was no longer a hobby, but this is something that you wanted to do as a profession, or be as part of your career?
When I knew I wanted to do it as a profession was, I'm sure, when I was in junior high school. When I actually made it a profession was a lot later in life than that. Okay.
That's awesome. Did you used to draw things and hand them out, or was there like you would sketch something, bring to school, be the cool kid,
I was just a bad student. I drew all day. I'd start on something early on, and I'd work on it just through class. And as I got older, I tried to shop stuff around. Then I went to conventions. I'd go to New York and get my ass handed to me every year, and just got really frustrated. And got other jobs and would draw out on the job, and just was drawing for myself. And then somebody introduced me to DeviantArt online, and it just kind of everything, because it was like, now you can draw something and somebody's actually going to see it, because the stuff I've been working on were things I just did for myself, because for fun, things that I like to do. And so now that introduced me to a book that was doing a pinup contest called Zombies versus Cheerleaders.
Okay,
They had
cool.
an art, and I submitted something because everything I drew was either violent or pinup oriented,
Right.
and they liked it enough to use it as a cover. And I went to work on that book, doing a little bit of everything, inking, sequentials, covers, and
Wow.
kind of led to everything that came after it. That was so exciting, just finding out, I got a cover, it's going to be published. It was this Moonstone. It was nobody really saw it.
Because I mean, you also collect comics of your own, right? You have a collection.
Oh, yeah.
You have boxes full of them.
I've been collecting comics since I was 10 or younger, even. So
I can definitely understand how it must be to now have your work be immortalized, amongst the stuff that you love, that you're passionate about. So kudos to you. I mean, look how far it's brought you, and I mean, this is amazing. So we're gonna go through, kind of speaking of your art, we're gonna go through some of your process, or some of your art process. So let's say, so there is a cover that you have where there's like a Nike shoe flying, there's like a Simon Says pad, there's like your famous Panda also that's flying around.
That's the early one. And I did kind of get away from that really highly detailed style because we were knocking out so many covers really quick that I think speed also made my style get more cartoonish.
Okay.
But that one was a big deal because that was Night of the 80s Undead 3
Okay, yes.
issue. And on the first one, Jason Martin, who's the writer, he wanted to do a homage to a movie poster, which was Rambo first book. Second one, he wanted to do an homage to a comic book cover, which was Justice League. And on the third one, he wanted to do an album cover. He wanted to do, I think it was Duran Duran's Rio.
Okay.
And I didn't want to do it. I was like, you know what? I just don't.
It didn't speak to you.
But is that going to sell a book? And so it was agreed, and I just did something original, and I just wanted that one to be big and bad and just throw as much in there as I could. And if you saw the color rough, I sent that to Ula Moss, and the color rough has every one of those items, like a photo from Google Images around the edges with the arrows pointing to them so that the color would be right, because I know she's a lot younger than me and wouldn't get a lot of the references. But that thing started with that car.
Wow.
It's like, how do you draw all that with the car? So I found the angle on the car in a photograph that I wanted. And it's scripted, it's in the book that it's an IROC Z. So I found it and I put that car, I drew the car first. And then once the car was in place, it was easy to draw everybody, all around. It was just keep building and building and building on it. And so I put all these people coming out of the roof of the car, because those are the characters in the book. And I showed it to Jason, and he said, you know what, I picture that as a T-top. And that's what it is. It's I'm not redrawing it as a T-top.
Oh man, but I love it. Honestly, it's like you've done so many great pieces, but this one, like, it's just, I think I would watch it again, and there's always something new that would pop up, and you're like, okay, wait, I don't remember noticing that. And again, so in this picture, we do see, again, the panda. We've maybe talked about this before, the panda. In your more recent covers, you also see the panda. And then in your upcoming Kickstarter, Kim the Delusional, there are also hints of having like a keychain on her with the panda as well. So is there a significance to you, or is there like something important tying into the panda, or like what's behind that Easter egg?
To me, it who doesn't like a panda? A panda's cool. But I grew up in the Washington D.C. area, and they had pandas, and it was like a big kind of thing for Washington D.C. back then to have pandas. And I think they were Sing Sing and Ling Ling. That made Washington D.C. the panda.
That's awesome. And I think recently they were saying that they're no longer, the giant pandas are no longer in endangered species. So there you go. Who knows? Maybe you had some influence on them.
Yeah, there were more pandas around now, but I think it was back then when I was a kid, it was more unique that they had pandas there, and nobody would put in Washington, D.C., but that's where it comes.
Okay, cool. And then there's this piece behind me here that you made for the Swiss Army Women Kickstarter, which again, I love the piece, love the design, love the way she came out, love how the mountains came out as well. So for a piece like that, which is very complex and there's a lot of dimension to it, how do you set yourself up? Is it you draw the character and then the background, or how do you, like for someone who is, let's say, now starting or is wanting to learn a bit on how to get a bit of juxtaposition, how did you come up, how did you nail that one out? How did you bust that one out?
I'm sure what I did was I just sketched it really small on a piece of paper, probably about 4 inches tall, just to get the proportions right. Okay. And just the body. And then I scanned it, I blew it up to fit on a 11 by 17 piece of paper, and then light tabled the proportions in. So just so the shoulders and the boobs and the hips and everything were there. And I just drew in all the detail. And the mountains, I've drawn mountains many times. Those were pretty simple. So those were just added at the end. Okay. That's background, like smoke. It's like, what do you put in the background? Smoke, fire.
A bunch of chalets. No, of course. And again, so you're talking about, so I've seen, I mean, you're infamous for your line work, your detail work, but here you're talking a lot of also incorporating some technology in it too. So some people are purists in the sense that they will only stick to, pencil and lead. Some will stick to now only digital. Here I see you have a marriage of both, but do you see yourself moving towards more the digital stuff, or do you still appreciate, or still, what is your take on also the, paper and pencil?
I think if you can do what you want to do digitally, you don't really need to use paper and pencil. I just feel comfortable. I feel comfortable sketching and cleaning and doing digital touch-up and stuff after the fact, but on the original image, I like working in pencil. I can control a pencil. I feel a pencil is comfortable in my hand. I can get what I want, but also everything has the digital element where everything gets scanned and touched up and cleaned and adjusted. And so it's a tool that I use for every cover, but I don't see myself working completely digitally ever.
All right. No. Okay. Cool. Yeah. And I mean, I've seen your tutorials. I know you do give sometimes tutorials, or you just do like kind of you're penciling a few things, and we'll watch you live. Sometimes on either your Instagram or on your Facebook. Mostly on your Facebook. What would you say within your art is your specialties? I mean, I think your fans kind of know, but what would you say is your specialty? Some people would say, like, we had Che on our show before. He would he would gather and put together, for example, heroes and hip hop. And then we also had Rutunes before, who would take kind of this very liberal feel or sketches of what he does. For your art, what is it that besides the style, is there a theme or is there something underlining for most of your covers?
I think I would guess it's sex and violence, but not but in a bubblegum. I'm going for a shiny bubblegum fun sex and violence, and I don't mean sex. There's no sex but pinup girls.
Right, exactly.
Action, violence, just grindhouse gore, but done in a candy way.
And very tastefully, by the way. Yep, absolutely.
I don't want to watch video. I really not into porn. I'm not into
no absolutely
videos, and but I don't know, I've just always loved twisting guts and how people's bodies will come apart and
the brain popping out and the eye.
Things, it's just kind of like molding things like smoke or intestines. They're all just, you can make them kind of fun and squishy.
Yeah. And I think that's the best. I think you've really wrapped it up really well, because sometimes people will see covers and right away they'll associate it to, well, we'll say it's smut. But in this case, it really isn't. It really is just, you have an artist, really taking on different shapes, and it could be, both female and male and everything in between, and then expressing, violence in the sense that there's guts hanging out, bit of the zombie-esque horror genres being mixed into a blender, no pun intended, but yeah, it's what, first of all, it's what attracted me to your art. It was completely different. It wasn't too gory in the sense that, like, when I have my own kids, I won't be able to hang it up, because it's fun. There's something that you just adore, enjoy, watching or observing your pieces.
Yeah, I like horror, but the B horror, over the top, like, stuff is way more fun to me than the dark, psychological horror.
Right. Yeah. More like the I didn't want to say Tom and Jerry, but like, yeah, like Itchy and Scratchy. That's how I first saw it. Like, it was kind of like the Itchy Scratchy of like the adult world. So I was like, this is beautiful. It actually brings out, that kid like cartoon, but at the same time, there's so much detail. It's beautifully done. It's tastefully done. Like, especially when you do these chibi characters. Again, talking about the bubbles, the bubbly characters. Those, I think, all your fans also love and enjoy. So you do have a big range, and you also like to, have fun with your audience as well. So again, great work. And one last piece that we're going to talk about, and this is what I think a lot of people are probably tuning into, is for Kim the Delusional. So just, I don't know if you've ever seen Space Jam, where Bugs comes out and everybody puts on, the rabbit ears before he comes onto the stage. So just for Miss Kim Delusional, I'll go ahead and put on my own, Viking-esque helmet. So we are, super excited to showcase a bit and talk a bit about where she comes from. Where's Kim from? How did you come up with her to begin with? So you'd have to dive into the big details, because we don't want to spoil anything for anybody. And spoiler alert, if you didn't know, he is coming out with a crazy Kickstarter called Kim the Delusional. It's going to be insane. So yeah, where was your inspiration for Kim?
Okay, Kim is so I've known for a long time I had to do a creator owned. It was the only place to go, instead of just, I'll still do covers, but where do you go from where I am? You move on to creator owned. And I had been so busy, I just put it off. And then the COVID thing was kind of a blessing, because it was like, now you have the time, you're home, you're not traveling every other weekend, you need to get, and I've never done a Kickstarter before. I'm known for a lot of Kickstarters, but I've never actually done the things that you need to do. And I have a bigger story that I've worked on since the mid 80s that I've redone and redone and redone. Wow. And it's a straight up crime grindhouse action story. And I want to develop that. It was actually published in the mid 90s in a Chicago newspaper, like a nightlife newspaper, about 7 episodes of that. But again, I haven't touched it in a long time. So wow. Kim is a side character in that universe, but Kim has delusions. She had a head injury, and she's narcoleptic, and has these things that happened to her that allowed me to, in the bigger story, tell a more fantastic story as far as things that weren't as crime related, or a little crazier stories, because they would fit into her head.
Right.
So as I was working on that, I thought it would probably be better to do a Kickstarter featuring this side character and do like a single one issue and kind of learn the ropes and like start small. And as I was working on it, it just kept developing and developing. And now the one issue is going to be looking like 3 issues. And it's just very hard to describe. So Kim there are two Kims that she lives in two dimensions. There's Kim, which is a kind of a crime zombie
Okay.
story, and then Kim the Delusional, which is a fantasy, just barbarian, over the top, gory horror, and the two of that, they kind of intersect, and it gets kind of complicated, but in the end, it's just everything that I love. It's grindhouse gore, sexy girls, action, and hopefully a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, so we had an exclusive view at your covers. Well, not all of them, but just a few, and they came out amazing. So we do see one in the background, well, your background right now, actually, in the pink. So we'll put it up the full color here, but like that is just gorgeous. It is like, are all of the covers this, like it is amazing. And I mean, I know all of the artists usually through Kickstarters will, you know, put out their best, but the lineup that you have is just insane. Yeah. So I know a couple years back we did meet. So I think it was 2017, and I had a few sketch cards that kind of already had her style with the pink hair and the blue, and then we had a commission done as well where Kim was also. So we've kind of seen Kim throughout, you know, your career through different places, and now we see her, you know, come full circle with her own comic book. Who is the blue and pink hair chick? How did this come about, or was there something that you saw or influenced you to get her going, or was this really like you made her one day and you said, you know what, this is really a badass chick and I would love to have her, you know, carry out most of your projects, and here you are today with this, you know, huge Kickstarter that's going to be coming out soon?
Yeah, she's on my first ever published cover from 2010 in the background. Also, I'm sure it was just the character design that I like the idea. I always I think women with either big footwear or big head, like a sombrero, or big hair, or always kind of, or they're fun. And I think it was the hat is like the hat, and all that hair is like supposed to be matted under that hat. And it was originally written as the short zombie story, which became the bigger Kim the Delusional story. And in that, the big reveal at the end, when she gets the hat knocked off, and it's that big matted mess of purple, pink, and blue. Wow. And it's because I thought it would look silly.
That's awesome.
But it was the character design that then I turned into a story, which was originally kind of a parody of all the zombie, like the oversaturation of the zombie industry. And she was playing a video game, which I think when the original pages went, Joe, I think it was a Nintendo Flip, whatever that first one was with the two screens. So it was so long ago.
Oh, the DS.
Yeah, and so in the end, I woke up from her delusion and realized that the whole thing was a delusion, and that the zombie thing had just, and this is, so it was just like a parody, a short story parody of the oversaturation of zombie culture, and that was, I'm telling, like before Walking Dead, before like
no, exactly.
Working in zombie books. Wow. Yeah,
you were ahead of the game from, you know, there you go. I mean, you called it, and it's.
But I always loved zombies. I would like Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I saw that before Night of the Living Dead, but that was just massive for me. Wow. And Return of the Living Dead is in my top 3 all time. And that, I think, Jason Martin, I think that's what brought us together on Night of the 80s Undead. We were both Return of the Living Dead fans. And you can see the characters from Return of the Living Dead are on watching that car on that cover you were talking about. They're the Tar Man and the punks are all.
Oh, there you go. Oh man. Oh, there you go. No, okay, great. And so yeah, we're super excited about it. Do you know, is there a date yet for the release, or is that still under wraps?
I am not going to launch until I am done with the pencils, and the pencils are taking they're taking longer than an individual cover. I'm giving it everything I have.
Awesome.
I wanted to launch at the end of the summer, but then I found out I had to move. That's why the white walls. I have an appointment to see an apartment on Friday.
Okay.
And hopefully it's a quick transition. I can get right back to work. But I'm not going to launch before. I don't want to be a deadbeat and take
no, for sure.
money and then have them wait a year. I want this thing to come out in a timely manner. I already have the covers collected, the majority of them. I have 2 more that are coming, and but I would say it will launch in 2021, but I just can't commit. It's yeah.
No, I mean, like, this is the way to do it. I mean, I've been part of Kickstarters, and I mean, many people, even probably you have as well, where you do get involved in Kickstarters, and yes, sometimes it does get lengthy, and then sometimes because of, you know, circumstances or pandemic or whatever the reason is, it may exceed, and then people get restless, and it's very hard to tame, you know, a very restless crowd, and then it's kind of hard to go back again, even though you had, let's say, a great product. The experience of getting there isn't the best. So the way that you're doing it, by all means, take your time, and the people will love it when it comes out. And I mean, everyone's been very patient, and I think it's without a doubt a very anticipated comic book that the anybody who's following the independent world, or even those who aren't, is just gonna love it. So that definitely very excited. I'm hoping you guys also appreciate these few you know, little sneak peeks that we were granted to show you, and that is all we're going to give, and that is all we're going to say regarding Kim the Delusional. And we're definitely going to promote it when it does come out. If anything, we may have a quick little powwow, you and I, you know, just to celebrate, you know, its launch. Anyways, to the inspiring artists or people that do follow you, or people that actually are, you know, now starting with a pencil and pen or iPad or whatever it is they want to use. If you have, with all the experience and knowledge that you've gained so far, what would be your, let's say, you know, word of advice? Like, what is Bill's McKay, the more you know moment?
I guess you can't get much simpler than don't do it unless it's what you love to do, because then you can't fail. Sure. But where is the market going to be in 10 years? Comics? I don't know. I'm surprised people, you know, I'm surprised comic stores are still around.
Yeah, that's true.
People are still buying comics. I'm very happy on both of the things, but I've just done it because I don't know what else to do. I get up and I draw, I travel, I go to shows. Like I had a dentist appointment today.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay home and draw. But it's like, that's go to the dentist. But to me, like, getting up and drawing, it's just what I do. So the fact that there's an audience for it is pretty damn cool. But I wouldn't know what else to do. There's nothing. It's a hobby. It's just what I do for fun, and luckily enough, it's a job also. So
yeah, well,
it's all.
No, and those are great words of wisdom. Sorry.
Listen to people who want to tell you what you're doing. Feedback. Get feedback and listen to people who, because I didn't have a lot of that. So I learned lessons late that, you know, if there was somebody telling me, you know, I was a little arrogant, like, you know, I'm so good. F you, I know what I'm doing. But, you know, later in life when you're working with an editor and they're telling you know, this is kind of wonky. And then of course you're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking. And then you look at it and you fix it. If I had an editor early on, I probably would have developed into a style faster and been a little far along.
Okay. Wow. Well, there you have it, people. I mean, yeah. A lot of people think that from the get-go, you know, if you're 12 years old or 25 years old or 50 years old or and beyond, that, you know, there was always, everybody says start young, but I mean, yeah, if you stick to those rules, I don't see how you can fail. Again, if you have the passion, as you mentioned, and somebody, or at least you don't also dismiss criticism, but you take in constructive criticism to heart and you work on it, then yeah, I don't see how anybody can fail. But kudos to you, Bill. I love your work. I mean, I'm sure in the comments below we'll have tons of people just, you know, showing their support. And I mean, your following is huge. I mean, anything that you put your hands on becomes gold. And I think that alone is a testimony of how great your art is. And I, you know, truly do wish you much success, both on the Kickstarter, but also in your career, you know, going forward. All right.
No.
So, guys, we're gonna wrap things up just by simply suggesting that you go ahead, follow Bill's, all the social platforms, which will be in our description below. You can find him on Instagram. You can follow him on Facebook as well. He has a bunch of fun groups where we actually get a sneak peek at his new projects. Bill, is there anywhere that we can get your merch, or that we can also give further support as well, that you'd like to give a shout out to?
I have Bill McKay .bigcartel.com
All right.
or big.billmckay.com. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's great. We'll have that also in the description below. You can go ahead and bookmark that, so when something cool and exclusive comes on, like his line books that are definitely hot and always, I think, first to go, you definitely want to check that out. And on our behalf, if you can go ahead and leave a like, also hit that subscribe button. This way you'll know when we have new artists on our show, and also when we have new details regarding any of the artists we had previously, because our goal is not only just to shine, but also carry through and follow through for them. We do want to give them support, as Bill was saying, also give support to our comic book stores as well. And all together, we can have a beautiful time all together. So, any final words you'd like to close off on, Bill?
No.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, thank you. By all means, chapeau to you for having, taken this time with us. PunFun definitely appreciates it. So stay tuned, guys, for more artists coming your way. And we're definitely going to check out and review a lot more shows, comic related, in the further episodes to come. Take it easy, guys. Peace.